upper against the wall. I mean, go back to what's been stock and standard, what has been solid for you. Clit has the volley bear here, Lyric, but thinking about something different.
Well, at least for now, the Aphelios still locked in. Even though the volley bear has been such high priority, this has been Clit's most played throughout the split.
True.
It has been something where I feel like he's looked very comfortable on with how scrappy FPX is. You know, you do have a lot of fighting going on. You do have a lot of bursts typically coming out of their composition, so it can set up very easily for Viego to find the ultimate, get the reset, and just keep popping off in these team fights. So now for EDG, defaulting back to Jinx feels like an easy thing to do, but with the change to the Rise ban, actually getting the Twisted Fate let through this time, and this has been something that's been banned against EDG consistently. I think even going back all the way to summer finals. I mean, this exact matchup, right? EDG versus FPX. EDG come into game one. They first picked the Twisted Fate away from doing B, and they were able to take the series off of the great prep that they had. But FPX have an answer. Sylas, of course, you take away the Destiny, you're able to match. You're a bit better in skirmishes and fights because of, you know, the amount of AoE, the amount of backline threat that you have.
And we kind of talked about Care's champion pool being different from Gory, right? We talked about the things like the Vex, the Ahri, which he loves, which is always banned against him. Things like the Sylas too coming through. So we get comfort for both our mid laners while we don't have solo laners up towards the top side. Graves already been banned away, and Lyric, it feels like Flandre and xiaolaohu been on their islands throughout this game. Like, Flandre had a great game one, but we haven't talked too much about them here in this series.
No, it really hasn't been all too... I mean, we had game one, right? We had game one, which I think was heavily topside influenced. Game two, we saw tops influenced by mid-jungle, but tops themselves weren't really the direct path of thinking.
Yep.
On this game, once again, for FPX, if you're going to save your counter pick all the way for topside of 5, I feel like we need to see more interaction. For FPX, you expect them to just go with your typical engaged support here on 4, something like the Leona or, you know, Nautilus coming out first, I think, typically being the go-to. And then you have all your aggressive options, because FPX's composition so far only spells out one thing, go in, and I don't really expect it to change since they've really gone this way with the Sylas.
Right, Trinity ban makes a lot of sense here as well for EDG. Banning away another top laner here from xiaolaohu. We've seen the Camille in that last game, but wasn't too much success, Lyric. How do you build a composition from here, assuming that we get the support pick next, but then have a top counter for xiaolaohu?
Yeah, I mean, well, right, but that's going to depend on what EDG pick on the opposite side. Here, I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like the Nautilus or Leona come out. EDG, you probably trade going forward. So FPX Nautilus here, EDG Leona. And I think Flandre will be the more interesting one. We still have the Gnar open, which is typically the safest among the blind picks. Again, Gwen is still here. I feel like the 50 range lost after you E is very critical in a lot of matchups.
Yeah.
But, ooh, EDG... maybe don't care about safety in the top side. You have the Twisted Fate, so you can protect this and enable it quite well.
Okay, well, Flandre on, again, another piece of comfort, so forget about what you get played into it. Taking as well a comfort from xiaolaohu, I think, is a big deal.
Yeah, now for EDG, having to follow up with their support pick. This has been something that Meiko has really loved to play in solo queue. He's been spamming it non-stop. I mean, gives you engage, gives you flank potential, also offers disengage with the showstopper if someone's coming in. But I'm glad to see this, because I was getting hit for FPX, right?
Yeah.
You once again, I think, have two options in my mind. You go back to the Camille, or you go the other direction that we talked about in the last draft. You bring out a tank up in the top side, and you're just all in on the engage. They're playing from a range. They're trying to protect Viper and Flandre. Ensure that you can get on the back line, and you're scrappy enough, you have enough damage that you can win.
I mean, look at it. Everybody wants to go in. You said it at the first 3 picks as well. You're like, this comp wants to go in. Malphite, Leona added in as well. Everybody goes in and doesn't want to weigh out. So you identified that really nicely there. EDG looking for a range here. And if FPX get on top of them, then it's lights out.
Yeah, I feel like it feels really hard, right? Typically, if they have summoners up, maybe you can try and kite out that initial engage, right? You flash a Malphite ultimate, maybe Sylas doesn't find a flank. You then build the range to be able to play off of. But heck, their ultimates are going to come back up before your flashes.
Sure.
So then, as long as you have those timers down, you just look for another engage in the following few minutes, and they should be able to find it. So I think FPX this time have a much simpler game plan and one that is very easy to execute. For EDG, I mean, heck, even going up against Malphite, you don't have a ton of AP damage coming out. You have a Twisted Fate, and Twisted Fate typically, right, a lot of your itemization is more for enabling your team, the rapid fire cannons, the Everfrost, all of this type of stuff. So I feel like if this game goes late enough, solidly in favor of the side of FPX.
Well, for FPX, again, we talked a little bit about their mid-game, but we've seen a very strong early game. We've also seen FPX able to close it out at 40 minutes against EDG in game number 2. This series has no lifelines, by the way. If you're just tuning in, our finalists from both 2021 splits are now backs against the wall, against match point. They're a world champion of 2019, but their roster has changed completely. And here with only Lwx left standing, this is going to be a big one, especially since EDG feel like they've moved into this series. They feel like they've returned to 2021 Worlds form. Edward Gaming now on match point themselves to move up to the second round. It all comes down to this to see if we go the distance or if EDG want to go for early hot pot.
On that note, I feel like EDG showed us last year in playoffs and at Worlds. They are a much more dangerous team in my mind in best of fives.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the versatility they have in being able to pretty much play around any lane that they have, their champions do have very deep champion pools that they can pull from and try and recreate that 2021 success. On the opposite side, let's not forget FPX. Both finals in 2021, they fell short. They come into this year, they lose a bunch of members, they revamp their roster, and they're trying to push further than they were able to before. This is their last chance. If FPX can't win this game, they are just gone.
They're done until summer, so that's why round 1 hurts so much. I mean, if you haven't seen our playoff format, you can check out our socials, but up until round 4, there are no second chances here in our best of 5s. And with 10 teams in playoffs, EDG the 7th seed, FPX the very last seed, they're number 10. And they only just made it through with OMG losing to LNG. So, again, it'd be sad for FPX fans if they went out here. But as we get into this game, which could be the final one, I want to come back to compositions a little bit here because I feel like mid, with how this series has been going, with our Twisted Fate versus Sylas, it is just going to be down to them again.
Oh, 100%. I think they will be the difference makers, right? Who's able to find the roam timing first? If Care and Clid can sit up for those 2v2s, because Sylas much better in these early 2v2 skirmishes, having the lockdown, having a ton of AoE damage coming out from your passive, you have the sustain coming out from your W. Typically, Viego wanting to wait till that level 6 mark, but still able to follow up. If Sylas lands an Abscond Abduct, you definitely have the damage to take down Scout.
Yep.
Scout, you could set up Jiejie, but Care having a lot of tools to be able to outplay if he doesn't just outright walk into a gold card himself.
Really impressive performance. Meiko gets Face Breaker down at the bottom side. Ignite goes down. Haymaker gets true damage as well and hung down very low. EDG's bottom lane in the 2v2. I guess that's where we start our focus in this game.
I love that they're playing so aggressive when they have the Sett pick, right?
Yep.
Because Sett typically taking things like the Hex Flash, so you can just pretty much arbitrarily throw your Flash to find the all-in onto an AD carry. It's pretty guaranteed with your E. And then you having so much more early game, like burst damage, than most supports, for the fact that you're not really a support, right? You're a fighter. You're supposed to be up in that top side. And Meiko already doing beautifully in this trade with Hung. Meiko should have a lot of opportunities to roam on the map this game with Jiejie, so I feel like that will be EDG's overall plan. Utilize the early game lane pryos that you have, try and set up picks, try and fight invades into the enemy jungle, and just start overwhelming FPX from early on before their comp really comes online, because their comp, in my mind, definitely much more of a mid-game composition. Sylas, wanting to hit that level 6 mark, incredibly strong, I think, especially 2 items. Not only your mythic like Everfrost, but then the Zanyas to be able to get another rotation of spells off. And of course, xiaolaohu and Clid, both decently ulti-reliant champions.
I can't wait to see the all-in again. Everything for FPX, all about that dive, all about the engage. And you said so yourself here in the draft. And it's nice to see when FPX have been such an aggressive style of team. We know that this team versus EDG, it was going to be bloodthirsty, and seeing Clid towards mid lane, hopefully we start earlier than expected.
He also did take the press the attack, right? So more early game damage available in terms of going for those ganks, right? The follow-up damage is also, you know, more damage for your allies dealing more damage. So for Clid, wouldn't be surprised to see him put early pressure up onto the side of EDG. We've already hit on mid lane. Could be a target of focus, but look at the minimap right now, getting some deep vision down bot, not actually going to wrap around. Maybe EDG's bot lane playing a bit respectfully, decides to follow up.
Well, they were pinged out, actually. This is deep from Hung. Meiko with a face breaker. Turret close to getting a shot. Hung is a couple of shots away himself. Jiejie's here, but now they're focusing on Lwx. It's flash for flash with the Sonic Wave missing. Grabbing him to slow it down, but the Zap almost doing the same. Clid is here, waiting for Meiko to step out. This is a bait now into enemy territory.
Care's on his way.
Shackles are flushed away from, and with Care being behind, FPX want to re-engage. It's summoners for summoners across the board. Lyric. There's a bit of aggression that doesn't end in blood.
Still, LWX losing Flash could be massive. At EDG can look for repeat ganks. We're at level 5 for mid laners. So Scout soon will be able to hit level 6, have the Destiny available. LWX does still have the cleanse, but if Meiko sets that one up with an E, LWX having to blow his cleanse there, you bring the Twisted Fate in with the gold card, could be very easy setup to bring down the Aphelios down in bottom side. Even though EDG haven't really been focused towards funneling resources into their bot lane this series, xiaolaohu pretty close to the level 6 mark, already sitting on these 3 cloth armors.
Yep.
He's going to be quite an annoyance to try and go for these dives or ganks against, so I feel like bot lane is the obvious focal point for the side of Edward Gaming.
And Viper already has a bit of a lead here. We'll get an adjustment here as soon as the wave's picked up under turret, but
there it is.
for now, yeah, really nicely done. So Scout, you just mentioned, I know you're pointing on the screen about the 6. Scout's ulti there. Care not quite.
Yeah, very close though, right? It looked like he was only 1 or 2 minions off, so he's going to be hitting that one right now. Just did xiaolaohu, who's on the top side. So FPX's composition really going to start coming online with these ultimates, and we're going to see where they're going to look for their first move. For now, EDG kind of angling up towards top. Seems like it just wanting to give some vision to your Jayce so he can play safely in this matchup. He's going to farm up just fine, try and get to a point where in the late game, his accelerated shot blast is just going to be deleting people like LWX and Clid from team fights. So once again, I want to see EDG hover down towards the bottom half of the map. FPX, I think, have more options. They can try and match in the 4v4. Sylas and Viego incredibly strong, you know, at being able to go for those skirmishes. But also, xiaolaohu having to set up with his ultimate. If Flandre doesn't flash or is a bit too greedy, he's a free target as well.
That's true. I mean, so many windows. That's why we talked about FPX comp quite a lot. xiaolaohu has ulti. Hello, Jiejie. There's a gold card to help out, but it's gone to duck now. Scout in the middle, 1v2. But xiaolaohu flashes forward. That's a solo kill by the Rock Titan. And Scout now going to be ulted on from Care, but FPX have done their blood in the early game.
And FPX, I mean, really creative plan, right? We're talking about how Clid has these options of maybe playing towards top or matching EDG if they want to go for a play down in bottom side. But instead, xiaolaohu being the one to move is now going to be punished.
He's got a gold card as well. This is revenge. Best served Rocky Lyric, and Flandre is going to be given the kill 1 for 1. That's the way I like my early games.
Yeah, spamming his laugh or dance or joke or something right before he goes off with it. But I mean, a lot of the biggest tool to dissuading dives against Malphite is that ultimate coming out, having some resistances early on. Sure, he does still have some armor in his belt, but without the ultimate, EDG not being afraid of going for that play, it opens up for FPX to lean down towards the bottom side, try to set up some counter juggling, try and set up some vision to be able to play, but nothing else gained.
But I'm also looking at the top side. Flandre in 20 CS lead, picked up turret plating, and has serrated Dirk. Talk to me a little bit about the resources gained here, because xiaolaohu, although picking up the kill himself, Flandre in this matchup still seems to be in a decent position.
Oh, and it'll be huge, right? I mean, especially working his way towards things like the Eclipse, he'll be able to have some of that HP damage coming out. Yep. And things like the serrated Dirk, just getting, not serrated Dirk, I'm sorry, getting towards the Serralda's Grudge. Like items like that, you know, typically third item coming out for Jayce. Going to be very important up against a composition that has the Malphite, has the Leona. There's going to be eating a lot of these skill shots coming out later in the game. So, of course, accelerating your Jayce, never hurting for the side of EDG. On the receiving end for xiaolaohu, your Malphite, if you're set behind in resources, it actually doesn't mean too much. Okay. And now both teams rotating all of their members up towards topside for this Rift Herald.
Scout doesn't even have ult, but they're just going to walk it out. xiaolaohu without his as well. Flandre doing a good job of battering him in back into his own turret. Be with your people, he says. But FPX start up the Rift Herald here, and look at who they've committed.
Yeah, again, everyone here, Moonlight Vigil available, Care. We're going to keep an eye on whose ultimate he is going to take away. Probably waiting to see if Meiko shows to take the showstopper. Meiko doesn't show. They do get the Rift Herald in the end. And for FPX, you are just chilling, going to go back to your lanes. And, you know, we're going to be keeping an eye on where Clid wants to look for this Herald play. I'm also going to be looking at where Scout pulls his next ulti. I know you're in the Herald mode, Lyric, but I'm in Twisted Fate ulti mode. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's on cooldown.
Yeah, but that's
it's on cooldown
next one.
For 51 whole seconds.
Oh, that's okay. In 50 seconds time, what's up? Nothing until maybe closer towards Dragon.
I was going to say, so we're going to be looking at about 10:05, 10:10?
Well, actually, what's more scary is the fact that every time Scout's on Twisted Fate, these ultis matter so much more than anyone else. I'm biased towards Scout's Twisted Fate. As we've seen, it's always been banned against him for a big reason. Like, This is one of his best champions and one that's been respected.
Even going later into the game into fights, right? The nice thing about it is when you know Care maybe going to be trying to come off on flanks or just try and get a read of xiaolaohu's position on where he's going to ult, pop Destiny, walk up to the Dragon, you know exactly where everything is, and you can, try and play around those positions accordingly. So definitely going to come in handy as we go later on, not only right now at this point trying to gank for his other laners. That is about to come up if they want to set up for a play, but both teams now back to posturing down towards this bottom side. No Dragon for 2 minutes, but I don't think that'll stop EDG maybe from pushing in for some aggressive vision down towards this bottom side with Meiko and Jiejie.
And moving as a two-man unit right now. I love that Hung and Clid are syncing up as well. It's all about the pings at the bottom side of the map. Scout with his ulti can move there if there's any picks to be had. Whereas Dragon's a minute 30 away. EDG control the river, but look in topside. I mean, Flandre is just having a word with the turret. It's like going to a parent-teacher interview and you're saying that, look, he's not coming to school. And this is the problem. We need to talk to you and we need to improve his attendance. What do we do here, Lyric? How do we get young Johnny to go back to school?
Wait, who's young Johnny? Is it Flandre?
No, it's xiaolaohu. He's not coming to school. He's not attending. There's 3 turret plates down. There's a lot of gold going to Flandre. He's not attending school. Look at it. It's 30 CS down. That's a D.
I was going to say, though, but how do you know he's not, maybe taking, like, an internship down at, like, the lumber mill or something, making a living for his family?
Because you said he's always going to be relevant.
Exactly, putting bread on the table. You don't know.
We don't know his backstory.
I was going to say, we don't even know what kind of school is he going to. He could be, like, in his, like, mid-20s, could be in uni, could have a wife and kids.
It could be like a school from Madeline where, the kids go in the chokey, and we don't like that at all. That's not very 2021 or 2022 of us, is it?
Okay, don't use the words us.
Okay.
That was definitely you.
Of me?
But, yeah, point is, xiaolaohu has other priorities, has been pretty much shut out of this laning phase so far. FPX, once again, not really giving him anything, playing more to enabling Lwx down in bot side, which, again, you don't need to give xiaolaohu resources. There were setups there with the ultimate if you want to try to punish Flandre, burn his flash, and make it harder for him to play the laning phase. But Dragon coming up in 4 seconds, we see FPX are the ones who have vision control there for now, and even rotating every members over, they realize, hey, xiaolaohu's already so far behind.
Sure.
Start making your way over just in case EDG posture for anything, but he is going to have to go answer in the end. Flandre, though, no teleport. xiaolaohu does have his.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, use it to get to the top wave before. Good trading here, though. And xiaolaohu now moving to half HP, and the Eclipse doing work. But the Dragon sitting there live, and like the last game, we haven't seen too much priority over the Dragons in this series.
I was going to say, I'm pretty surprised that FPX committed him to roaming down. Didn't start that one up, didn't, play more aggressively to force any fights, didn't drop Rift Herald at that moment. No, they made it so he walks down, has to walk back up. He's heavily chunked out by Flandre, so now ends up missing the wave anyway because he has to be afraid of more accelerated shock blast, maybe more kills coming out from the Jayce, and now has to waste his TP in the end anyway. So I feel like a bit of a missed opportunity by FPX to more aggressively force if you're going to move your Malphite over. If not, keep him top. He has the TP. He can match any time if you are going to play it a little bit more slow.
He uses TP to the top side. Dragon's going to start here, though, and he has to walk all the way down. Look, pings are going down. Flandre has moved away. Actually made a quick base, but it looks like FPX are going to be uncontested for the Dragons. So they do get that one in the end. We are going to a Cloud Soul, which, unfortunate for Malphite mains out there everywhere. We got a Mountain Soul first. xiaolaohu once again trying to move down. So Lyric, we're in a mid game where we've only had 2 kills. We are getting out of laning phase. It's 13 minutes. Plate's almost going down. Walk me through a little bit about what Scout and Care do at this point, because we've seen one Scout ulti come through. We know what the Twisted Fate, or how the Twisted Fate wants to operate here. Run me through how we transition. I
feel like for EDG, we're already starting to see what they're going to opt into. With the fact that your top lane is won so hard, you pretty much just double down on this advantage that Flandre has, and we're already seeing it.
Great timing, great timing. I'm sorry I didn't give you a little bit more. Clid has to ulti away. xiaolaohu under turret. Looks for Flandre, who doesn't take a turret shot, but takes so much damage. Here comes Care with his own destiny as Scout on the defensive with a gold card. Hung moves in. That's going to be a bit of a support advantage for now, as Meiko himself, was also there. So we just go for a dive, but it is well negated by FPX.
Of course, and I actually feel like Meiko has been, the more proactive one in terms of moving up towards mid and top side of the map.
True.
We've seen Viper and Meiko able to keep pressure down in that bottom side, so that does explain the reasoning. Lwx now should be able to have some pressure on his own, though, considering that the Gale Force is done. Again, this is kind of the big power spike in my mind in this matchup where Viper really has to respect from the all-in potential coming out from Lwx. And now for the side of FPX, this is where we want to start seeing them, I think, making the map small, playing as a 5-man unit, starting to look for some kills. right now they're sticking to their lanes, right? Because they're trying not to give Flandre that opening in top side, takes the turret, he's able to start moving around the map more aggressively and creating numbers advantage. But for FPX, trying and matching these skirmishes in top half, especially with Rift Herald coming up right now and Lwx having first move.
Yeah, look, Viper's still in that lane, catching it away. So I love that you pull out the 80 carries here. Lyric, Lwx almost halfway up the river. Meiko's made the movement though, and he's sitting there quite confident with Jiejie, looking to start the Herald, but it's held for now. Care taking the Twisted Fate ultimate as well. Scout doesn't have his own, which is worth mentioning.
Yeah, and they have a very thin window where Viper's still not here. They don't exactly know where he is, but they know he's behind on the rotation. You have the Destiny available. Seems like they're waiting for xiaolaohu to get that ultimate up, and that they're uncomfortable looking for the engage.
First damage starts with Hung. They've rooted him down. He's dead. Nice and easy. Doesn't xiaolaohu. You already said doesn't have the ultimate available. They're going in for the fight here. Flash is already burnt, but Meiko sticking around. Cares out with his own. Herald given back over. EDG say walk away.
And without the confidence of having that Malphite ultimate, they play it so slow and so indecisive. You had things like the Destiny to where maybe what you do, right, wrap Clit around Rift Herald Pit, send him up towards topside to try and find a gank on Flandre, follow up with Care, and then force your way in through topside. I feel like you had different options there as FPX even if you were so hesitant because xiaolaohu had no ultimate, and it just gave EDG the free engage.
It's always funny to me because the xiaolaohu going to get engaged on here. FPX and EDG are two teams that never say die to objectives. Even if Malphite ulti's not up, we know that they're going to try and fight over it. In the top side, that's a bit deep from Jiejie. He feels the full brunt of the law. 2 kills over the xiaolaohu.
Look. We see Clid and Care both here. It's still going to be waiting in the wings, but no. Both going to back off in the end. And, I mean, like you said, Jiejie overstaying.
Lwx may be a bit too deep. Gold card comes through here. Evercross on the turret, but he won't get the damage off again. Lwx going back in on him. Scout regretting, but the gold card comes through once again. Dodges away as Viper now needs to finish it. He gets the choppers down in the perfect space. Ulti at melee range. Saves the day as FPX lose their 80 carry in response to mid lane turret.
That was so close from Lwx, almost able to find the damage onto Scout. Had Flash available, but maybe not wanting to commit because then he would still just be overcommitted. Viper would be able to follow up. He'd have no tools available to be able to combat the Jinx. But we do see FPX able to answer on the opposite side of the map, even now hovering up and denying some minions in the top side. And map state kind of being a bit even. EDG, of course, having the gold lead from the early game that did play out. FPX playing more for Dragons, playing more for later on in the game, and the scaling that they have with the Sylas Viego as their mid-jungle combination. And right, when we talk about scaling, EDG definitely have a solid amount of damage later on. Both Jayce and Jinx, I think, are going to outdamage anything on the opposing side. The only thing that makes me like what FPX have more is they have the guaranteed engage come through. The problem is we haven't seen the outright 5v5 start happening just yet, but now that we're pushing towards that 20-minute mark, I'm hoping to see FPX start playing more as a 5v5 unit.
Are they going to be allowed to? Because Jiejie's here on a flank. Look at Scout as well with the gold card. Sonic Wave connects, but it is just to force the turret going down. So EDG pull ahead by close to 3,000 gold in the early game, in the mid game, I should say. And in 18 minutes, Dragon's coming up.
Look at xiaolaohu's angle. xiaolaohu actually TP'd bot. His ulti's about to come in. He's going to try and find a flank. Could set him up for a massive ulti. But my god, the poke already coming out from EDG is
It's massive.
huge.
Hung almost dead. And look at the angle. You mentioned xiaolaohu. Hung going gold, but they found the Malphite into the rest of the team. He doesn't even get to ult Lyric.
No, EDG marking their flank quite well. Expected to come. We already just saw the damage coming out from Hung. And for a composition that's pretty straightforward coming out from FPX, EDG just not letting them execute. They played that so well.
Dismantle again the individual skill of EDG. This is why they were the favorite team in the round one. This is why this team were world champions last year as Scout is going to ulti up into Care. There's a level disadvantage. Everfrost comes through. It's Twisted Fate as Care takes it, but he goes in with his God Abduct the Kingslayer. But a gold card round 2 as Scout's ordering this down. Kingslayer comes in again. He needs a bit of help as another gold card should just do it. Viper, help me! To the rescue, the 80 carry, and the second time.
That was so close. Care almost able to make it happen. I thought Scout was so bold going for that one. Even if Care was so low, you're going up against a Sylas having the heal on his W. Sure, Viper's rotating, but my god, you played it on a knife's edge. Let's say he kills you before Jinx is able to rotate up. He's able to take your Destiny. You can just get out for free. You're just giving over an advantage. We see here, EDG, of course, having map control because they just made the play in mid. FPX can't force their way in. This is where EDG's comp is the most comfortable, throwing out the W, throwing out the Accelerate Shock Blast. But here is the more important thing. Jiejie knowing to go mark out on this bottom side.
Right,
They have some vision down. They're able to spot out xiaolaohu, and they finish off the kill. So EDG, very conscious of what FPX are trying to do. They had the setup down to be able to make sure that they can't find their way in and force their win condition.
I mean, it's a 4K gold lead. It's 4.5 actually, to be frank, and that dragon picked up just delays the game a little bit longer. But more importantly, we see that EDG, with the gold advantage, have the map to themselves. Flandre with 2.5 items here, Lyric. Like, this Jayce, who got strong throughout the lane, is hurting FPX severely.
100%, and even though we hit on like liking FPX's comp later on in the game because it's very straightforward, again, in terms of damage, in terms of this kind of stuff, it doesn't outscale EDG.
There's Soul Play coming through. Can he press W in time? Meiko, yes he can, but he's still going to die. Shield corrupted as xiaolaohu has found himself. Flandre for a bit of revenge. Clid flashing in, wanting to reset. Jiejie helping out. The Heartbreaker not working. The kickback was beautiful. Clid is denied. And in the important matchup in round 1, EDG are skill gapping FPX.
And I mean, that was just on Clid, right? Clid smelled blood. Clid thought he could find the pick in time. If you find that pick, you keep the fight going with all your resets. Your other members are just right behind you, but ends up just giving away a kill to the side of EDG, and now EDG can keep the siege going.
I mean, Hung slowed down. Everfrost lucky not to connect here as the range from Viper starting to build up. Flandre, those blasts hit, and that's when you're going to even be more fearful. 4K Gold League continues to be massive here for EDG. And what could be the final game? It's match point, and things are going from bad to worse for the FunPlus Phoenix.
Yeah, and again, FPX coming through at the last second, able to beat out OMG in the deciding game. To be able to make sure they get the playoffs. After a wonderful early regular split, we're going to see here a lot of the byproduct of what led them to have a good early regular split. The pick potential that comes off playing this mid game as a unit, just the aggression willing to come out. xiaolaohu setting up here onto the Jayce, and Clid thinking he can follow up because he has the flash, lands the CC, but not accounting for Flandre's flash himself, leads him to giving a pick over. And for, with where the game state's at, with the gold lead what it is, FPX's game plan doesn't really change. Like, their composition really is just so one-dimensional that you're pretty much just going to continuously look for that big wombo combo, 5v5 coming from the Malphite, set up for the Moonlight Vigil, and then Care being a menace on the backside, and Clid trying to benefit from resets. EDG, though, even though your comp still plays out the same way, the fact that they have such a big gold lead just makes everything they do easier, right? Because now they have a lot more confidence playing out in sides, knowing that people like Care are set behind on the opposite side. It's so much harder for anyone from FPX to just try to brute force their way into your composition because you have more damage coming out. Members like Flandre, who's already sitting on that last Whisper.
I mean, that's going to be completed soon as well. He's been there for a while. So for Flandre, if you play towards this side of the map, the burst is insane. And, we've seen a really good Flandre laning phase here. We've also seen EDG make sure that xiaolaohu fell even further exceptionally behind than Malphites normally do. So, Lyric, I feel like in this game, they've had a really good read on what FPX have wanted to do. That's why we're seeing EDG come into such a strong mid-game.
I do so want to add the caveat of, right, EDG's comp is still squishy enough that FPX are not out of it. Gold lead is huge, 5K. FPX really shouldn't be able to overcome it, but one big engage from FPX can lead to a team fight, and especially now where we're post 20 minutes. Baron's up. Can very easily pivot that into some turret-taking potential for your side. But EDG now still playing the map very wide. They have the globals to come through. They're making sure xiaolaohu's not grouped with the team. And it looks like probably just going to give over the second dragon to the side of EDG. Doesn't mean too much. You can just keep trying to get gold on your carries and funnel resources in for the time where you do have to fight.
They might be trying to push it for the turret as well in the meantime. Care the only one here. Destiny used. And I think Destiny was used just to react to the mid-wave while it's turret trading here, inner for an outer. EDG picking up the first one, and the dragon as you already mentioned. So we come to this point where it's important that you have mentioned how FPX come back into the game, that we return to the core fundamentals of this comp and how it works. At this point as well, Lyric, I want to see how far Lwx gets ahead, because he's picked up the Collector. I think we don't see as much anymore on the Aphelios, but more importantly, the damage lagging a little bit behind when we're already seeing the third item from Scout. The Chemtech Putrefier coming through. We also got in the top lane Flandre. We've been waiting for this one. Serelda's Grudge third against the Malphite. That's massive.
Yeah, huge coming out from Flandre. Again, just the amount of armor being on the opposing side, I feel like is going to be able to do so much. Heck, even look at Viper's inventory. Last Whisper coming out for him as well.
Yeah.
This is really the power spike I think EDG are looking for, to where they can just have full domination over the side of FPX.
Well, Baron's up. That's what I'm looking towards now. Vision control is spread wide here as Care goes at half HP. That's just Flandre's damage. They know xiaolaohu's coming in. He's got flash, he's got ulti, but Clid has started walking up. As he walks towards the wave, I'm just waiting, guys. There's a showstopper taken by Care, but he won't get to use it if he walks into Flandre. Ulti from xiaolaohu in. They use everything against the wall. Care risks it, and it pays off massively.
Nice to see this from FPX this time around, though, because this is something we were begging for last game.
Yeah.
Commit both your solo laners to the side, opens up potential for the pick, and this time around you have... that was close.
Hitboxes in the game. I'm surprised that actually didn't connect.
And this time around, right, you have double TP, so even if EDG try to do anything cheeky on the top side in terms of Baron, they do have the TP to come through. But earlier on, you were hitting on the Chemtech Putrefier coming out for Scout.
Yep.
I think just going with it because it is a cheaper item overall compared to like something like the Morello. You still get the nice Grievous Wounds coming through. You get the mana regen, a solid amount of AP at 55, and just going to go for that earlier power spike in terms of how EDG are hoping to play out this game. But just snowball forward. They already have a huge gold lead as well, so could just look to just brute force. Again, kind of like the theme of the day.
Kick flash comes through. Destiny once again teleport on the backside. Clid has been found out. The jungler looking for blood has brought it upon himself. The xiaolaohu used the ulti to get the engage before. And now with jungler down, I mean, EDG do this again. The pick opens up their windows.
I was going to say, and luckily, I mean, right, Flandre back up, TP's in, they're able to start this one off. It's all going to come down to Care.
Okay.
Care having the Lee Sin kick, xiaolaohu having the ultimate. You really need a good combination here. xiaolaohu and Lwx, they are the big difference makers.
Moonlight Vision with the right guns, but Scout's got a gold card onto xiaolaohu. He's rooted up again. Finds the ulti, which sets up for Lwx. Maybe the window continues to open here. There's Care with the Dragon's Rage on the backside. FPX to stay in this series, relying on the mid laner once again. Dodges as that Meiko runs towards him. Dragon's Rage still there. Solar Flare buys time, but Care is still in no man's land. EDG turn and burn the Phoenix, who are turning to ashes at this point.
EDG doing out the fight, they find the kills, but good thing for FPX, they kill Jiejie. So no Baron able to come out from EDG just yet. They at least buy themselves some more time. The problem is, we just keep seeing xiaolaohu die so fast. What can he do now? Not only Sorelda's grudging top, Lord Dominic's finally finished by Viper. There's just so much damage coming out from the side of EDG. We're going to go straight into the replay. We sit here all on xiaolaohu and Lwx, in my opinion. Gets rooted down early on by Scout. Meiko chaining CC, and he goes down. Luckily, Lwx finds a really nice Moonlight Vigil, which brings down Jiejie. And I mean, now, right, it's just about can Care get away or not. I don't feel like it matters too much to the side of EDG. We see the support trying to enable him hung with the Leona ultimate. Still goes down in the end. Still, EDG couldn't do Baron at the time. I feel like that is the key takeaway.
Well, at the very least, we're going to reset then and wait and see if EDG can force them again, because in front of the Baron, they've cleared away all vision completely. The river belongs to Edward. And FPX are still on the defensive path. Hung moves in by himself, but EDG grouping up and clearing away the vision. Look how blind it is.
Yeah, they're going to really struggle to find a way in. This is where their comp's really going to come in line.
Oh! Comes through. They go in. xiaolaohu finally! We finally get it from FPX and a reset from Clid as well, but look at Scout in the backline. Everfrost usage of Viper's free hitting. Lyric, they get off their combo, but it's still shaky. Care goes gone, but Viper's waiting out, and Flandre blows them all to hell. The Phoenix is down.
And the key thing is, look, Lwx wasn't able to utilize the Moonlight Vigil. That is the big thing of damage for the side of FPX. EDG completely blowing him up. You said Scout playing on the flank. Flandre so much at this point in time. And now Baron for the side of Edward Gaming. Clid is still up, though.
All right.
Has Flash, has Smite.
So no Smite coming through from EDG. Scout has now appeared without the Destiny. Clid getting vision. 4K, they cannot contest this with Smite available. Zap comes through and he ain't over the wall. Again, the poke huges. Viper wants to send him to the dirt. Lyric, Baron taken, 9K gold lead, and the fight looks so good for FPX.
It's once again feels like a little bit of last game, right? Where you find the opportunity, but you're so far behind at this point in time. They go in, find the CC, and bam. 4 members locked up. Sadly, actually 3 members, sorry, but Viper not being one of them. Lwx looks like his ultimate just wasn't available at this point in time for the fight to be able to throw it out. Think about it, Malphite ultimate into a huge Moonlight Vigil.
Yep.
Could have been multiple members down. You're now able to run forward onto Viper, the key member for EDG, bring him down. But instead, EDG find the fight, they get another dragon, they can push this one home.
And while we saw amazing performance from Flandre and Viper in the fight, I mean, Scout this series. It has been all about this mid laner. It's been about the mid lane matchup, Care versus Scout, and in this game, 1-0 and 8. The kill participation there once again with the Destiny. Knock up from xiaolaohu, but here's the man on a mission. Scout returns, and the mid laner of EDG carrying them towards victory. xiaolaohu again is separated from the pack. It looks like EDG want to be the round 1 kings.
EDG gonna push this one through. They have the poke and siege to be able to win this one out. It is a surprise that the 2021 World Champions started in round 1, but this is not where they are going to end up.
Well, xiaolaohu with 30 seconds, 4 versus 5. They're going to try and make it difficult FPX are, but EDG are on a mission here. They don't want to stop in the round number 1. They want to make the run here. As one Nexus turret goes down, it is only the start of playoffs, but EDG brought their A game. They heard us talking trash as FPX look for their last defense in the series, but Hung is caught out on the backside. Can't do anything. Meiko with the engage. The Nexus Bear. EDG trying to finish it all now. It's Edward Gaming with the run to start playoffs off.
Yeah, and EDG, again, win LPL 2021 Summer. They won Worlds. It was looking shaky, looked like the World Champion curse, kind of staying true in terms of going into your league and struggling, but able to come out in this first round, able to show us with enough prep, with enough time to get everyone on the same page. They are still the same team we know and love. And again, they looked pretty terrifying today. I'd say 2 relatively clean game wins, one a bit more back and forth,
Sure.
but still overall, EDG, once they get Scout on something where he can really influence the map, are just terrifying.
I mean, this is a great form from Scout, a great form from EDG. This is what we came to expect when EDG started the split off, and they were off to the races. But as the split went on, it slowed down. EDG were a massive question mark coming into the series. FPX struggled in a lot of the games, and we kind of saw that the individual strengths we outlined here, the brute force nature of EDG, and with a composition like this, how easy is it to execute?
Oh, of course, and I mean, it's just nice to see them set xiaolaohu so far behind,
Yep.
to where they were just bursting them out very early on, right? We saw the early last whispers coming out from both Flandre and Viper, and then they just turned onto the Malphite. He's gone. They were marking their flanks, which is incredibly important, knowing that those are coming, and FPX just said no way, and I think it goes to what we said in the last game, that if FPX is a team fall behind, I mean, they're not used to that. FPX, in their wins, really do just kind of brute force themselves. I feel like these teams, some parallels, not exactly the same, but very much relying on a lot of their aggression and their skill to outmaneuver the teams that they play against.
Yep.
For FPX, typically it's in that bot lane, where, like, sure, again, one of the games with the 2v2 kill, I believe that was in game 2, but they weren't able to do it to the same level that we see them, like when they play against WE, and they're finding numerous 2v2 kills, Hung's everywhere on the map,
Sure.
and just able to blow open the game for their side.
And respectfully, like for FPX, there was a lot of times where they couldn't focus towards bot, or they couldn't get their normal game plan off. EDG had such a good read into the series. Top side was a big focus in games 1, game 4. I feel like a lot of the time, Flandre outmaneuvering xiaolaohu. And on top of that, I mean, mid lane is affecting the map.
Yes,
I feel like the biggest thing.
I feel like that one was huge, right? And we came into today, and I remember us talking about the series yesterday and saying, like, hey, I feel like if EDG win, it's going to come off of mid lane, because I feel like the biggest contrast in terms of FPX and EDG is their mid laners.
True.
I feel like Scout and Jiejie, I mean, obviously now having all the synergy, but Scout, just, I mean, such a prolific player, so insane at being able to influence the map. And we talked a lot about FPX's win cons, about like, hey, like, the Camille again playing towards top. Well, EDG very well, like, force jungle mid, get prio first, start making your way up there before FPX can find a play, and they were constantly doing things like that. The rotations, many times, out-trading them in terms of 2 turrets to 1, or just outright taking 2 turrets for none on the side of FPX. Just really clean game from the side of Edward Gaming. And
now we go to this point where we're like, okay, well, EDG kind of realized what I said. EDG have started their run in the playoffs, but at the very least, it feels like they've started off sprinting. It's a run where EDG are, one of the best teams in the league when they're in form, and it looks like this is exactly how they've started playoffs. You have to start thinking, who are we coming up against next? And the top side, top esports. Weibo in the bottom. Oh my god, that's going to be good.
Yeah, that one's going to be, I mean,
Bloodthirsty.
again, Viper Huanfang, I mean, the Shy up against Flandre, Scout versus Angel. For EDG, again, I'll be honest, I favor EDG, I think, against a lot of teams in playoffs and best of fives. I really do feel like they're so incredibly dangerous. You can't underestimate them. They've shown time and time again that, like, a lot of their draft priorities can adapt, that Jiejie can be pretty flexible in who we can play around, and we saw that here in this game. Instantly, Flandre finds an advantage in top side. early game maybe playing a bit more towards spot with the aggression coming out from Meiko and Viper with the Sett in that bottom side. But the second Flandre finds the advantage, they all start pivoting up towards top, enabling the Jayce even more and more, shutting xiaolaohu out. And from there, FPX weren't able to do anything. Feels like the most underwhelming game across the board from their side.
True.
Klid not able to find any great opportunities. Care, he was trying to find his way in out of the back line, but again, EDG were just pushing the pace so much that it didn't really matter. And Lwx and Hung not really getting a chance to play the game with how much the opposite side of the map was impacted. When your whole plan, I feel like, hinges on the Malphite and the Sylas. Like, that is the most important thing to EpicSkillshot's comp, and EDG never let it even get off the ground.
And part of that reason, again, when we come back to mid, like, I want to say that Scout, there's a reason this Twisted Fate is constantly banned. This was a huge pick for them, and they knew that Scout was going to dictate the pace. I think as well, like, Rise this series, Scout's Twisted Fate, these are champions that can affect the rest of EDG. And Scout does so well in lane that he often ends up moving to a side lane with an advantage himself.
And I feel like for the last few years, I've preferred Scout on either champions that have early agency or champions that could side lane over, let's say, stock and standard like late game control main